Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So today is update day. All platforms will have maintenance, which is estimated for about 2 hours. With it comes the majority of changes that I already covered in my previous video that came to the preview server, which is quite interesting that they're already pushing it out so soon. Yes, this comes with the Mirage change, the Paranoid Delusion change, the Mage Slayer, and there's also going to be a Vistani adjustment too. And you also have some rogue changes and even a warlock change. So let's cover everything here. First of all, you have the Imperial Citadel, the dungeon, the achievement star stabilizer will properly be granted here, and I assume removed from the Moon Dancer. Additionally, the Don't Drink the Water achievement will now grant correctly even if you fail Stay Out of the Light. You currently had to beat both of them at the same time, and they've also made it so that companions will be exempt from consideration for those achievements. Now, Adventures in Wild Space, just some fixes in Vokath base with an invisible wall of force that didn't allow you get to the treasure chest. They don't really contain much, but they also went and fixed an issue in the Arena of Blood where, you can't break the arena scripting. I believe that was the corner where you could go out of combat in most cases. But otherwise, Day of the Dungeon Master, you should now properly be able to interact with the entrance to the Baradon Inn, regardless if you have the quest or not. I would assume that's what the change is. And then future events, just a little bit of a name change with Dungeon Delvers Delights. So then the changes on Rogue here, just with Assassin, an update to Dazing Strikes. They're hoping to make it more useful, so just increasing it by 50 magnitude. The problem the power still has is that, you have to be casting it with melee and it's only an arc in front of you rather than say all around you like these other powers would have. But I guess it's useful for the support effect. You can make enemies grant combat advantage to you, which is nice, and all your allies. But let's be real, everybody's just playing Whisper Knife. And they have adjusted Whisper Knife a little bit. They've actually given it a bit of a nerf by 20 magnitude for its shadowy opportunity from 150 to 130. That means every single thing that triggers that is dealing a bit less damage, including your at-will attacks, which also makes it less viable to use within single target. Now, they did adjust the Blitz encounter. They're increasing its magnitude, trying to make it more viable. It's just this arc in front of you, and it only deals one hit, so it's not even that great with shadowy opportunity. And then shadowy disappearance oddly got a nerf. To be honest, I don't know why. They were saying it was a bit of a sleeper powerhouse, but they're trying to make room for powers like Blitz, so they're nerfing it. Honestly, shadowy disappearance just has a too tiny radius to be very effective in multi-target. I'd prefer this one to be a viable single target damage power, meaning I would appreciate if the damage was increased by a bit, and if not that, just have it changed that it cannot trigger one with the shadows while you use shadowy disappearance in stealth. That breaks any use of it in your shadow demise rotation. I would like to use this power for just the mobility in certain boss fights. Yes, you will lose a bit of damage versus impact shot, but if it could practically be used, it just gives a bit of flexibility and utility to positioning, etc. But again, with it triggering one with the shadows, you just cannot do so. There's the exact same problem with Vengeance Pursuit. You cast this from while within stealth. You will trigger one with the shadows and then gain this stealth while you already are in stealth. So it's impractical because you want to gain it after you've left stealth so that you can enter stealth again nice and quickly. But I digress and we move on. There is a bit of a Warlock tooltip update. People complaining about Pillar of the Power. It was claiming it would target at the target's location, but the target was always yourself, so they've adjusted it so that it will trigger at your location. So now some companion updates. So the Mage Slayer companion, again, we did just test that out. You can check my previous video, and we did find that he's like rank 2. And if you remove the Blaspheme Assassin's unreliability, he's the best. But that's all he's going to do. some damage. He doesn't have a support effect, say the Black Death Scorpion would have, or Vistani or Captain Cartel or some other ones. But interestingly, they did actually improve the Vistani Wanderer a little bit. They say they improved the Gloaming Cut slightly. I did go make sure to retest that, and we did find, yes, the max hit did go up from like 100,000 to 136,000. However, I did find he's using it less often than he did before. So this is a 10-minute test, 43 hits. This is like a 5-minute test, 39 hits. So he's only got a few more hits in after 10 minutes versus just 5 minutes. So there's something wrong there, something broken, and so his Gloaming Cut's actually dealing like less damage, and his Duelist Flurry is just dealing more damage, which did mean he got a slight improvement to damage because, yeah, it's the Duelist Flurry that does the most. So he's very viable. You can use him as a support for the movement speed buff and you won't lose that much damage. But moving on, there's the Paranoid Delusion companion balance update. I still need to get into the testing of that and actually check compared to the other classes and how well they will rank here. If you have one, maybe you should be using one, but we do have to see where they left them in terms of balance. And this is part of the Mirage Weapons rebalance, which is also happening with this update. The Riotous Wrath Companion, if you were crutching that to stack to gain tons of damage reduction on the boss, then that will no longer work anymore. Just one of you can use it and that's it. The Spine Devil, they made it to properly trigger, but they did reduce its magnitude down to just 100 per hit, so a bit of a nerf there. Additionally, with items and powers, the Divine Muse bonus was granting too much resource regeneration, and this in particular was these ultraviolet boots. Technically it's Galactic Muse, but it worked exactly like the other ones, but it would give like 200% regen while within wild space instead of just 20. So you could use that to get near infinite heal resource and be able to just spam your heal powers so much, but that's getting fixed now. And then they did adjust one of the gear pieces so that it will correctly restore 8% hit points. But then the Mirage Weapons, they have been rebalanced, at least those classes where it was overperforming, namely Bard, Rogue, and Ranger. The rest of them won't really see much of a change, and they'll be performing just as the previous Barbarian Illusion. So if you're a Barbarian, you shouldn't see much change with them. The unfortunate thing is though that instead of them spawning 3 clones, they'll just spawn 1 now. But don't worry, the damage has been rebalanced around that. In some ways that's a good thing for reliability, but it's a bit of a sad thing in terms of just the cool factor of Mirage Weapons. Having 3 of your clones is really awesome, but yeah, that will again only be 1 of your clones now. With the Bard, they have changed the power, so it will now just perform a stab rather than a Duelist Flurry like what the Rogue had. Again, we need to get into testing of those to find out how effective they will be now. And yes, they did actually update the tooltip. It says it will just summon an illusion of yourself to fight for you. I did briefly check it out on Rogue, and it still performs pretty well, like you check here. Keep in mind though, this is just an artifact call. So it's triggering at once during the peak time where you have all the debuffs on the boss. And it was like, yeah, 14% of my damage. But this is definitely going to be diluted down when we have a lot longer combat time. And again, you can only trigger the clones every 30 seconds. Again, the Mirage Weapons are still only good within master content with high item level. They have not removed that scaling. You have to be in content that is 70,000 item level or higher. What that means is Master Temple of the Spider or up. Any of the lower content, even the advanced dungeons, Mirage Weapons will just perform very poorly, and it's not the weapons that you should be using anyway there. Keep in mind, this again is an artifact call with the data here, 68 million. We did another test of that, 68 million as well. In this one, Mirage got 11 hits, in the other one he got 12 hits. So yeah, they're hitting for a ton, like 2.5 million at a peak time. And so that's a lot, but it's only going to add up to like 8 million, 9 million. And when you consider the increase you get to all of your abilities without, say, using Mirage with some other damage buff weapon, you can see that you can probably perform a bit better. So we'll have to see. And again, it can still be at the point where a newer player who's not that great at their class will be better off with the automatic damage of the Mirage Weapons in that endgame content again. But a more skilled player who knows how to make the most of their abilities better, they'll most likely find a just increase to all of their abilities better than, again, like summoning a companion for 10 seconds every 30 seconds to attack for you. But let's move on from there. I will cover more data on Mirage Weapons when we can get that, whether they're worth it to use in the new dungeon, things like that. Right now, before they changed that, Mirage was in an okay position. I wouldn't use them because I potentially could output more damage in burst when it's important versus using the Mirage Weapons, particularly on Whisper Knife. But we go to then some items and economy. So the Infernal Resonator, if you were struggling with that, it will no longer go into your backpack when unequipped from your potion tray. If it's in your backpack, it can be moved to useful items manually. Then with the Reaper's Challenge, the Timora's Lucky Coin will no longer be used in the Reaper's Challenge with no consumable modifier active. However, the Owlbear figurine can now properly be used in the Reaper's Challenge when there's no consumables modifier. Then for the rewards reclaim agent, you should properly be able to claim a celestial bloodstone from the rewards reclaim agent, as it would sometimes be unable to do so. And then the wondrous bazaar, you should be able to get the weapons of a lost horde for transmute purposes. And we can see it's a pack right here, 25,000 astral diamonds base cost. We can purchase it, and then it's in our inventory, and we can open the pack and it'll give you the weapons of your class. So we can go and preview those, and that's the weapons. Not bad. That's a very long sword though, but that's pretty neat. If you wanted a sword on your paladin, there you go. That's another one you can add to your collections. Also pretty big. Definitely would appreciate more of these being added, but they can totally put a higher price on these, to be honest. People will pay for fashion, and it is just fashion. It's not like you need to have it at all. And I honestly would appreciate more visuals and appearance items added as a way to monetize the game rather than more, say, power items. So hopefully that enlightens you as to what's changing today. Bunch of stuff there with companions. Be aware of the Mirage Weapons, some power buffs and nerfs on Rogue, and then some fixes with the new dungeons achievements. So once again, a massive thank you to all of these channel members for your added support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.